Imagine a world spiraling into chaos, where truth had become a forgotten whisper, morality had drowned beneath waves of desire, and human beings wandered the earth with hearts hollowed by heedlessness. It is here, in this dark age, that the story of one man rises like a lantern in a storm, a man whose patience would outlive generations, whose resilience would echo across millennia, and whose mission would redefine what it meant to struggle for the sake of God. This is not merely an ancient tale or a distant legend. This is a story alive with lessons for every age, including ours. This is the story of Prophet Nuhu, Noah, a man chosen by Allah at a time when humanity was slipping deeper into corruption. His story, preserved in the Quran with unmatched clarity, is one of unwavering faith, heartbreaking rejection, divine mercy, and ultimate justice. As we journey into this narrative, imagine you are watching history unfold through the lens of revelation, guided not by imagination, but by truth. Long after the time of Prophet Adam, human beings had multiplied across the earth, spreading into valleys, hills, and plains. For a while, people lived in harmony with the divine guidance that flowed from the earliest prophets, maintaining morals, worship, and unity. But with passing generations, memories faded. The wisdom of the righteous became stories, then whispers, then myths. Slowly, humanity drifted away from the oneness of Allah. According to Islamic tradition, corruption did not arrive overnight. It seeped in gradually, like a silent fog. It began with admiration for the righteous people who had once lived among them, men known for piety, kindness, and devotion. When these righteous individuals died, their people felt loss, sadness, and a desire to preserve their legacy. They began by carving reminders, symbols, markers, then images. Those images became exaggerated, decorated, honored, and eventually revered. And as shaitans slowly manipulated their hearts, what started as remembrance transformed into worship. Idolatry was born once again, and the world was drowning in spiritual darkness. The idols they created bore names still mentioned in the Quran: Wad, so Yagith, Yak, and Nasser. They stood tall, carved from stone, wood, or metal. Silent figures that humans ironically believed could bring blessings, protect them, or intercede with God. But these objects had no power. They were illusions fueled by deception. This shift in belief did not happen within a generation. It evolved slowly, persisting until entire communities and tribes centered their lives around these idols. Rituals were invented. Offerings were made. Sacred spaces were established around statues that neither heard nor responded. The spiritual fabric of society began to tear apart. Greed replaced gratitude, injustice replaced fairness, and ego replaced humility. And in the midst of this rising tide of falsehood, Allah chose a man from among them, someone known for his character, integrity, and sincerity. This man was Nuhu, one of the earliest messengers, sent not just to correct a mistake, but to guide an entire civilization back to the truth. Prophet Nuhu was chosen by Allah at a time when humanity desperately needed a reminder of its purpose. He was not a king, nor a warrior, nor a man of wealth. He was chosen because his heart was pure, his character upright, and his devotion unwavering. Allah entrusted him with a mission that no ordinary person could bear, a mission that would stretch over centuries. Nuhu stood before his people with humility and courage, calling them to the worship of Allah alone. He told them, "I am a clear warner to you." His message was simple, universal, and timeless. Abandon false gods, return to your Creator, and seek forgiveness. Yet, his people were deeply attached to their traditions. They resisted change, clung to their idols, and took pride in rituals inherited from ancestors. To them, Nuhu's call felt like a threat to their social order, their customs, and their sense of identity. And so, rejection began, a rejection that would span centuries. Nuhu approaches people with unmatched patience. He spoke gently, using wisdom. He explained the dangers of false worship and the beauty of returning to Allah. He warned them of consequences, reminded them of the mercy of their Creator, and invited them day and night. The Quran emphasizes this persistence. "I call my people night and day, but my call only increased them in flight." His dedication had no pause. He reached out publicly, addressing crowds, families, and gatherings. He reached out privately, visiting homes, speaking one-on-one, giving counsel with compassion. He appealed to their reason, their emotions, their hopes, and their fears. Yet, with every effort he made, their resistance grew stronger. Some plugged their ears. Some covered their faces. Some walked away in arrogance. They mocked his sincerity and ridiculed his warnings. But Nuhu did not stop. His mission was not fueled by ego. It was fueled by responsibility, a divine trust. As years turned into decades, and decades turned into centuries, Prophet Nuhu continued calling his people to Allah. Many historians mention that his mission lasted 950 years, as confirmed by the Quran. Imagine that level of endurance, nearly a millennium of inviting people who insulted him, rejected him, and humiliated him. Yet, Nuhu never responded with bitterness. He responded with patience. He didn't say, "Why me?" He didn't say, "I have done enough." He persevered because he knew that guidance comes only from Allah, and his job was to convey the message with truth and sincerity. Every time a child grew into adulthood, Nuhu hoped that maybe this new generation would listen, but their elders poisoned their hearts, warning them not to follow him. Some even accused him of being possessed, a liar, or a madman. Still, he remained steadfast. His resilience became a model for all future prophets, a testimony to what it means to trust Allah without wavering. One of the painful truths of Nuhu's story is that only a small number of people believed in him. The Quran indicates that his followers were few, so few that they could be counted easily. Most of them were poor, marginalized, or humble individuals. For the elite of Nuhu's society, this fact became a weapon. They taunted him, saying, "Should we believe in you when the lowest among us follow you?" To them, faith was a social hierarchy, not a spiritual truth. But Nuhu knew better. He told them, "I will not drive away the believers. I am only a clear warner." He reminded them that honor comes from God, not social status. Yet the elites persisted in their arrogance, using classism as a shield to reject the truth. This dynamic, where the powerful resist change, has repeated itself throughout history, and it reminds viewers that prophetic messages often begin with the humble, not the privileged. The mockery against Nuhu wasn't only verbal, it was strategic. The leaders of his people launched a public campaign to discredit him. They spread rumors, exaggerated lies, and warned others not to listen to him. They said, "He is only a man like you. He wants superiority over you." Ironically, Nuhu never sought power. He sought salvation for his people. But false narratives have always been powerful tools for resisting truth. His opponents manipulated fear, pride, and social pressure, creating an environment where ordinary people feared associating with him. Yet, despite the slander, Nuhu remained firm. He didn't compromise the message. He didn't soften the truth to gain approval. He didn't adopt trends to appear appealing. Instead, he continued delivering Allah's message with integrity. His opponents had influence. He had truth. And history shows that truth, even when resisted, eventually prevails. In a deeply emotional moment recorded in the Quran, Prophet Nuhu turns to Allah and says, "My Lord, I have called my people night and day, but my call has only increased them in flight." These words reflect exhaustion, not of faith, but of pain. He had poured every ounce of effort into saving his people, yet they turned away. Imagine carrying 9 centuries of rejection. Imagine watching children grow into adults who then mock you, just as their parents did. Imagine pleading for their salvation more passionately than they cared for themselves. Yet, Nuhu's reliance on Allah never weakened. He wasn't complaining out of frustration. He was presenting his effort before the one who sees all. His dua reminds us that even prophets feel the weight of their mission. They are human, resilient, but human, and this vulnerability makes his story profoundly relatable. Prophet Nuhu continued trying new strategies. He reminded them of the blessings around them. The sky, the earth, the rain, the gardens, the livestock, all signs of Allah's mercy. He appealed to their gratitude, urging them to reflect on creation. He told them, "Seek forgiveness from your Lord. Indeed, He is oft forgiving. He will send rain upon you in abundance and give you increase in wealth and children." His message was not one of fear alone. It was hope, prosperity, and spiritual revival. Nuhu was showing them that Tawbah, repentance, opens doors to both spiritual and worldly blessings. But instead of softening hearts, his words angered them. They accused him of making false promises. They believed their idols control fortune. Their hearts were locked by arrogance. So despite all the beauty in his message, they refused. This rejection teaches us that guidance is not about intelligence. It's about humility. Eventually, the disbelief of Nuhu's people reached a point of no return. Their rejection was no longer ignorance. It was defiance. They plotted against him, encouraged each other to hold tightly to their idols, and promised never to follow him. They said, "Do not abandon Wad, nor Yagith, Yuluk, and Nasser." These idols became symbols of resistance against the truth, and as the years passed, their corruption deepened. Injustice spread. The strong exploited the weak. Society decayed morally and spiritually. Despite Nuhu's continuous warnings, their hearts remained hardened. Finally, after nearly a millennium of calling them with no change, Allah informed Nuhu that no more people from the community would believe. At that point, the mission of calling was complete. The next stage was divine judgment, after centuries of mercy, patience, and opportunity. With a heavy heart, Prophet Nuhu made a supplication that marked the turning point of his story. He said, "My Lord, do not leave upon the earth any disbeliever." This dua wasn't motivated by personal anger. It was motivated by divine knowledge. Allah had revealed to him that their hearts were sealed, their fate decided by their own choices. If they remain on earth, they would misguide future generations, spreading idolatry like a disease. Nuhu's supplication was an act of protection, not revenge. It was a recognition that mercy sometimes requires difficult decisions. Allah accepted his prayer, signaling that the time had come for a punishment unlike any humanity had ever witnessed. And here begins one of the most dramatic moments in human history, the construction of the Ark. Allah commanded Nuhu to build an enormous ship, a vessel that would carry believers and selected creatures through a flood destined to reshape the world. There is no record in Islamic tradition that Nuhu had any background in carpentry or engineering. Yet when Allah commands, the impossible becomes possible. He gathered wood, tools, and materials, and began constructing the Ark under divine instruction. The Quran describes as being built under our eyes in revelation. Imagine a prophet, old in age but strong in spirit, hammering wood under the open sky, while a disbelieving nation watched in confusion and ridicule. The Ark wasn't built near a sea or river. It rose on dry land, making the scene even more absurd to the people. But Nuhu understood something they did not. When Allah commands, the unseen becomes more real than what eyes can witness. As the Ark took shape, the mockery intensified. Day after day, people passed by laughing at Nuhu. They asked sarcastically if he had become a carpenter. They joked about his sanity. They pointed at the massive wooden structure and asked where he planned to sail it. On land? Their arrogance blinded them from seeing the signs unfolding before their eyes. Nuhu, however, responded with words that still echo with power. "If you ridicule us, we shall ridicule you just as you ridicule." He wasn't mocking them in pettiness. He was expressing certainty. A day was coming when the truth would reveal itself without debate. As the Ark grew larger, it stood as a silent testimony to the coming judgment. One last warning carved in wood. The Ark was built with precision, its structure massive and reinforced. It had multiple levels, strong compartments, and space prepared for animals, supplies, and believers. No one had ever seen such a vessel. It was unlike anything known at the time. Islamic scholars describe it as enormous, powerful, and divinely guided in design. While Nuhu worked, Allah inspired him about who would be saved and who wouldn't. Even some of Nuhu's own family members were not guaranteed salvation if they rejected faith. The test was individual, not relational. This was a powerful lesson. Lineage does not replace belief. Righteousness is not inherited. It is chosen. The Ark, therefore, was not simply a ship. It was a divider between truth and falsehood, sincerity and arrogance, salvation and destruction. The moment Allah promised finally arrived. Signs began to appear, subtle at first, alarming later. The sky darkened unnaturally. Winds grew restless. The earth trembled beneath the feet of man. Then, the Quran describes something extraordinary. Water began to gush out from the ground, from ovens, from earth cracks, from places never associated with water. Simultaneously, rain began to fall, not soft but aggressive, heavy, relentless. This was no ordinary storm. It was the opening of the gates of heaven and the bursting of the springs of earth. A flood unmatched in scale was unfolding. Nuhu received command, bore the ark inside. He gathered the believers, calling them to safety with urgency. Animals, guided by Allah, began approaching in pairs, orderly, calm, obedient to divine decree. A scene miraculous and awe-inspiring was unfolding before the eyes of those who once mocked him. As Nuhu and the believers boarded, an emotional moment occurred. His own son stood outside, refusing to enter. In the Quran, Nuhu calls out to him with a father's desperation. "O my son, come aboard with us and do not be with the disbelievers." But his son, blinded by pride and false assurance, replied, "I will seek refuge on a mountain that will protect me from the water." The storm raged around them, but his son believed that natural means could outsmart divine decree. Nuhu pleaded once more, but the boy turned away. A massive wave rose between them, and in one heartbreaking moment, the son was gone. This moment shows a profound truth. Even prophets cannot save those who refuse to believe. Guidance belongs only to Allah, and family ties cannot substitute faith. The flood intensified, swallowing valleys, cities, and mountains. The Quran states that the waters met at command, meaning the rainfall from above and the springs from below worked together in perfect synchronization. Humanity had never witnessed a catastrophe of this magnitude. Buildings crumbled, trees vanished. Idols that once stood tall were dragged into the depths. People who mocked the warning now scream for help, running in terror, climbing heights, clinging to rocks, anything to escape. But divine judgment cannot be escaped through human effort. The ark, floating effortlessly upon the chaotic waters, became a symbol of Allah's protection. While destruction spread across the earth, the believers inside the ark felt peace, safety, and certainty. They had placed their trust in Allah long before the storm arrived. Inside the ark, life continued amidst the storm. The believers prayed, recited, and reflected on the miracle unfolding around them. They understood that they were witnessing a moment written in divine decree long before their existence. The animals settled in their compartments, calm and orderly. The ark moved across the waves with divine guidance, sailing under our eyes as Allah describes. It didn't tilt, break, or sink, even as the waters rose higher than the tallest mountains. Nuhu, though heartbroken over his son, remained steadfast. He led his people in gratitude, reminding them that safety does not lie in material strength, but in the protection of the most merciful. The ark was not just a physical vessel. It was a spiritual sanctuary, carrying the seeds of a future humanity. For days, weeks, or possibly months, the exact duration known only to Allah, the ark drifted over a drowned world. Everything familiar was gone. Landmarks had disappeared. The world beneath them was silent, emptied of life except for what Allah had chosen to save. The believers inside the ark learned dependence on Allah in a way that reshaped their hearts permanently. They had witnessed His power, His justice, and His mercy. Every sunrise and sunset aboard that ship was a reminder that Allah controls destiny. Meanwhile, the storm outside continued its transformation of the earth. Mountains eroded, valleys filled, rivers reshaped. When divine judgment descends, creation itself reconfigures. Yet, throughout this upheaval, the ark remained stable, an anchor of faith amidst a sea of change. Finally, after the appointed time, Allah commanded the earth to swallow its waters and the sky to withhold its rain. The Quran says, "And the waters subsided, and the matter was concluded." Slowly, the waters receded. Peaks began to reappear. The ark eventually came to rest on Mount Judy, a location mentioned explicitly in the Quran. The storm had ended. Silence filled the air, a silence unfamiliar after the roaring winds and crashing waves. The believers stepped out onto a transformed earth. Their feet touched soil that symbolized a new beginning for humanity. They were survivors not merely of a flood, but of a divine purification. The world they inherited was free of idolatry, free of corruption, and ready for a fresh chapter. But one of the most emotional moments of this story occurred after the ark settled. Prophet Nuhu, still thinking of his lost son, expressed sorrow and questioned why his son was not saved despite being family. Allah responded with profound wisdom, "He was not of your family. He was an unrighteous deed." This statement teaches a vital lesson. True family is bound by faith, not blood alone. Righteousness creates bonds stronger than lineage, and disbelief breaks bonds that even biology cannot preserve. This moment was not a rebuke to Nuhu. It was a reminder that divine justice is perfect and that believers must trust Allah even when emotions pull their hearts in other directions. Nuhu submitted completely, acknowledging Allah's wisdom and seeking forgiveness for questioning what he could not understand. As the earth dried and life began anew, Prophet Nuhu guided the believers in rebuilding society. They were now the carriers of a new human lineage, the beginning of a purified civilization. Nuhu taught them worship, justice, ethics, humility, and gratitude. He reminded them constantly that the flood was not just a punishment. It was a lesson for all future generations, that arrogance leads to destruction and that turning away from Allah leads to ruin. He emphasized the importance of Tawhid monotheism, ensuring that idolatry would never again creep into their hearts. Every field they planted, every home they built, and every path they walked was shaped by the memory of what had happened. This new community was not just rebuilding the world. They were rebuilding faith itself. Prophet Nuhu lived many years after the flood, continuing to teach and guide. His wisdom, experience, and resilience made him a foundational figure for humanity. His story became a living reminder for his people, and for all who would come after, of Allah's power and mercy. The Quran repeatedly refers to him as a grateful servant. Indeed, he was a grateful slave. Gratitude defined his life. Even after facing a millennium of rejection, even after losing his own child, he remained thankful to Allah. This level of gratitude teaches us that true faith is not tied to circumstances. It is tied to trust in Allah's wisdom. Tragedy did not break Nuhu, it built him. Hardship did not weaken his faith, it refined it. Before his death, Nuhu left his followers with a message that echoed the core of every prophet's mission. He told them, "I instruct you with two things: worship Allah alone and avoid arrogance." These two instructions capture the essence of guidance. Tawhid protects the soul from misguidance, while humility protects it from corruption. Arrogance was the very disease that destroyed his people. It made them reject truth, mock revelation, and cling to false gods. By warning his followers against arrogance, Nuhu was safeguarding future generations from repeating the mistakes of the past. His final words were not long speeches or dramatic farewells. They were simple, powerful truths meant to guide humanity until the end of time. The Quran honors Prophet Nuhu as one of the greatest messengers, Ulul Azm, the prophets of strong determination. This title is not symbolic. It reflects his extraordinary patience, dedication, and endurance. No prophet called his people for as long as Nuhu did. No community rejected their prophet for as long as his people did. Yet he remained steadfast. His story is mentioned in multiple chapters of the Quran, not just as history, but as a reminder. Allah tells the Prophet Muhammad, "Be patient," as the messengers of firm resolve were patient. This verse shows that Nuhu's legacy is not limited to the past. It is guidance for all future believers, especially in times of hardship, mockery, or resistance. For modern audiences, the story of Nuhu holds profound relevance. We live in an age where misinformation spreads rapidly, where truth is often unpopular, and where moral decay can feel overwhelming. Like Nuhu's people, many today place blind trust in systems, symbols, or ideologies that offer no real salvation. We cling to worldly means while forgetting the creator of all means. The story of Nuhu teaches that guidance requires humility. It teaches that truth is not determined by majority acceptance. It teaches that patience is not passive, it is powerful. And most importantly, it teaches that Allah's mercy always precedes his punishment. But when punishment arrives, it is swift, just, and undeniable. A YouTube documentary viewer might wonder, why did Nuhu continue calling for 950 years? Why didn't he stop? Why didn't he walk away? The answer lies in purpose. Nuhu wasn't motivated by results. He was motivated by obedience. His mission wasn't convert hearts. Only Allah does that. His mission was to deliver the message truthfully. This perspective transforms how we approach our own responsibilities. Success is not defined by numbers, praise, or validation. Success is defined by sincerity and consistency. Nuhu's mission teaches us that even if the world rejects you, if Allah accepts your effort, you have succeeded. And if the world praises you while Allah rejects your intentions, you have failed. The flood of Nuhu is not just a historical event. It is a metaphor for every era. When corruption rises, when falsehood spreads, when arrogance dominates, societies begin to drown morally, spiritually, and socially. In such times, the Ark of Nuhu represents refuge in Allah. The storm represents worldly chaos. The believers represent those who choose truth, even when it is unpopular. The disbelievers represent those who cling to their pride until destruction overtakes them. This symbolism makes the story timeless. Every generation faces its own flood, and every individual must decide whether they will board the Ark of Faith or stand outside claiming that a mountain will save them. As this documentary script concludes, we return to the man at its center, Prophet Nuhu, a man who stood alone but remained steadfast, a man who faced rejection but never surrendered, a man who watched his own child turn away but still submitted to Allah's wisdom. His story is not one of despair. It is one of hope. It shows that truth survives even when nearly everyone rejects it. It shows that Allah's mercy encompasses those who believe, and His justice reaches those who deny. It shows that patience is not weakness, but strength. And it shows that every believer today is connected to Nuhu's legacy, because from the survivors of his ark, humanity was reborn. His life was a testament to pure devotion, and his legacy continues as a guiding light for all who seek truth.